Bob Sturgeon, thanks for joining.
Hey Neil, how you doing today?
Very well, thanks. Nice to see you as always. So, you and I have known each other for 4 years now, but that is not exactly where your Quickbase journey began. So I'd like to start by just asking you to kind of cover where in the world was Bob Sturgeon when you first found Quickbase, and what were you doing with it?
Yep. Actually, I worked at Intuit in 2001 when they bought a company called OneBase and rebranded it to Quickbase. So I was on the Quicken.com team at the time, and we used it for project management, the typical use case. And used it, back in the day, it was in its early beginnings, but it was a great app. Then when I left Intuit in 2003, I went to another job, and I was in the advertising business, worked for an ad agency. So we had a lot of campaigns that were being communicated over spreadsheets and emails. And I thought, we're losing track. Things would get lost. Things would, nobody knows the status. So I installed a Quickbase there, an instance of Quickbase, and it spread throughout the company. We found a couple other use cases for it. And just to make it quick, there were 4 or 5 other times in my career when I went to a new company, and it was the same situation. Everything's on spreadsheets, emails, things get lost. Nobody's accountable. And so I installed Quickbase 4 or 5 times. And finally, at one point, my account exec from Quickbase contacted and said, hey, why don't you come work for us? And at that exact moment, you couldn't, they didn't have remote workers yet. I would have had to move to Cambridge. So we put it on pause for about 6 months. Remote positions opened up, and here I am.
Sure. So Bob, I know you said you started with some of the more common use cases like project management, and then because of your familiarity, you brought it with you to solve problems at other places later in your career. Why Quickbase? Why didn't you choose a variety of these other solutions out there?
Because I'm not a programmer. I'm not a coder. I get some of it, done some real light coding. I love formulas and logic and things like that, but Quickbase was just so easy to pick it up. So easy to pick it up and create workflows and tables and tasks and accountability, and people understood it quickly. And it was just, Neil, I've sat in a meeting before where somebody's describing a problem that they're having, and I'm just observing, listening. And sometimes by the end of the hour-long meeting, I've got an app built, and I go, hey, here we go. Here's how we track this. We're not passing spreadsheets around, checking them out, or even spreadsheets in the cloud,
Sure. So you have some tenureship with Quickbase as a product. What are some of the coolest things that you've seen over the years? Like just call out some of your favorite releases or enhancements.
Well, as you know, Quickbase didn't do a lot of releases back in the day. It was maybe once a year, and then it started to be quarterly. And then it was about maybe 7 or 8 years ago is when I got really excited to start doing monthly releases. Man, I looked forward to getting that email and seeing what was coming next. Things like automations, obviously. And then after I joined, we got pipelines. But automations were huge. And being able to do record pickers with something that's so simple now that we didn't have, say, 10 years ago, a record picker with all kinds of information from the parent that you're picking it from. You could build reports and do that. APIs, the RESTful APIs now, and just building rich text buttons. Rich text fields were huge. I keep forgetting. So many things we take for granted now weren't here 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Even in my 6 years, it's amazing to think back. Even looking at some of those support cases I was dealing with and whatnot at the time, we've come a long way. What's exciting you about this year, Bob? We're just kicking things off in 2023.
I think it's the level of customers that we're getting. I still like working with small, proprietorships or LLCs, but now we're getting enterprise level where we can take data integrations from SAP and Salesforce and all that stuff and pull all of that in to have dashboards and aggregated data in one spot, workflow channels, the work we're doing with Amazon, for instance, pulling from their proprietary systems it's just phenomenal.
Sure. And you are now a technical enablement consultant by title. Tell me more about that. What are you up to?
I have the coolest job. I get to teach people how to use the tool that has been my hammer for every nail for the last 20 years. I get to teach people how to use it. And I love taking people who have not even touched Quickbase before. We start a new app. Here's your open palette. And then we dive in. And it's just, I mean, I have goosebumps now. It's kind of weird, but I get that excited about it. When people, you see their light bulbs come on. I've had people who had no Quickbase experience I started with maybe a couple of years ago who have even surpassed my technical abilities now. They've gone in deep, deep, deep on certain things. And it's just like, I'm like the teacher that's like so proud of their students, It's like, you guys are awesome.
Fantastic. And so, how do you describe Quickbase? What's your in a few sentences? How do you explain it to someone?
It's a blank palette. It's like it's a database, open source database that you can make it do basically anything. And that's why it's so hard that, we've had a hard time defining what it is. It's like you tell somebody it's an app that can do about anything. Well, you've got to describe it anymore. So what I usually do is give some examples. It can be a CRM for your business. It can manage project management. I've got some really incredible customer use cases that I can't name because of security issues and things like that. But just the workflows, it keeps everybody informed. All the data's in one place. You're not passing around spreadsheets. You log in and there's your data. And you can manipulate it. You can add to it. You can move it around, analysis. Back in my previous to joining Quickbase, I did a lot of deep dive analysis with it that I don't get to do anymore. Maybe I miss a little bit of that, but there's where you dig in and you're creating formulas and just mining data. And in previous jobs, I hate to say, but I've really shown up some of the people on the analytics side using SQL. It's like, no, I can get this in Quickbase and I can get it that fast and it's accurate and I can check the data and make sure it's good.
Sure.
That's not an elevator pitch for what Quickbase is, but sorry.
Totally fine. Thanks for that. Bob, what would your advice be to, let's say, what's your advice to a new builder? And what's your advice to someone who's been kicking around Quickbase apps since you started?
Especially for new builders, my first advice is get a builder account. Even if you're at a company and you've got access to build your own apps, get a builder account. You can do it privately. I was so happy when that came because in the past, between jobs, I would say, I need a Quickbase to manage my job search, to do anything I have an idea for. And now I've got a builder account outside of the Quickbase realm. I can go out and practice things and try out different things. Sometimes I get an idea and try it out. There's that. There's university. Start at the beginning and go through university and learn it there. But then in your builder account, just start building apps that are meaningful to you. I manage my house, my vendors, bills, maintenance, all those kind of things. I've built apps to manage a vacation, things like that. So do something that's meaningful to you. That'll really that'll give you motivation and inspiration to keep going.
That's great. What about for some of our vets out there? What do you say to them?
Teach other people, because by teaching other people you learn. Sometimes I'll get on a call with a customer who I've maybe had 1 or 2 sessions with, and they go, and I'll be directing them through something, and they'll say, shouldn't I press this button? And it's like something I may not have noticed before, even in 20 years, or something new. They find things, and then you see things through their eyes. It's like having a kid, and you see things through their eyes that they're learning, and it's just it's a new window for me. So that helps me train other people too.
Sure, that's great. Anything you wish you knew in 2001 that you
man. I always say I wish I had me 10 years ago. because we had no techs. We had no services. We had tech support, and that was it. And you know, I didn't want to ever go to tech support for a maybe kind of a strategy question. Should I have a many-to-many table, or should I just have some multi-selects and drop-downs and things? Should I, you know, how do I go about thinking about this app? How do I structure it? And I didn't have anybody to bounce it off on. So I had a whole lot of learning through trial and error. And I wish I would have had a resource, even university and things like that. Back in the day, as you know, we only had basically the community pages. And those were pretty valuable. And then Empower came along. Oh man, my first two Empowers, I came back with a notebook of things, like all these things I wanted to do, and it just took it to the next level.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Empower this year in June, and a lot of the other activities and events that we have going on, like our city tour and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
More to come on that. Bob, listen, thanks so much for joining. Pleasure as always to hear from you, and I'm sure I will see you next time you visit the East Coast.
It's always good to see you, Neil. Take care. Cheers.